Imagine living in a world where you never need to leave the house. Imagine spending every moment of your life in front of the screen, whether it's going to school or going to work. Then afterwards, you get to explore numerous virtual worlds. Go out and talk to random strangers who mostly say nonsense. Go play games which try to get you to spend exorbitant amounts of money on virtual items. Or even go out and pay for some virtual real estate at prices similar to actual real estate. Sure, you might meet people and gain a following along the way, but eventually you realize just how lonely of an existence it is since you're still stuck in your small little den with nothing to show for it. And I'm basically describing my life right now. God damn it! It seems like our world isn't that far off from dystopian science fiction. We spend tons of time checking social media apps and spending even more time playing a bunch of games and wasting our paychecks on pointless microtransactions. For many, this trend is getting tiring, and some are even taking steps to move away from our digital addictions. But tech companies are looking into new ways of keeping us hooked. Why spend your time just looking at social media and games when you can fully live it? Enter the Metaverse. Besides being another hot catchphrase in Silicon Valley, the Metaverse is a concept where we convert the internet into a virtual universe. Think of it like an MMO, where essentially every game, website, and social media platform is all connected together as if you were walking around to different places in real life. You can shop around for items like you were shopping in an actual store. Go meet up with people like they were actually there in front of you. Or attend a concert or some other event without getting anxiety being around a ton of people. And not having to deal with the smell either. Anything is possible in the Metaverse, and you can have your own piece of it by spending hundreds of thousands of dollars up front. The Metaverse hype train has been going on for many decades now, where we've seen a plethora of sci-fi books and movies talking about this particular concept, and then explaining just how awful of an idea it is. This hasn't stopped people from trying though, as we're seeing a ton of companies trying to make this a thing, with the biggest one being Facebook, Meta. With the user base of their social media apps stagnating, and with other tech companies blocking their ability to data mine their customers, Mark Zuckerberg is facing a huge dilemma. If Facebook and Instagram continue to lose users to its competitors, and if they can't keep track of all the dumb shit people look up online, then his empire would crumble in a few years. In a desperate attempt to stay relevant, Zuckerberg shifted the entire focus of the company to the Metaverse, changing the company's name to Meta in the process. Using his large sums of money and his social skills,
but it is going to bother you because you're human, and I was human. I am human, still.
Zuckerberg is looking to build his own virtual universe where he controls everything. Meta wants to create their own platform where they get revenue from all transactions in their little universe, and they be able to track their customers' every move without anyone getting in their way. Although they've only recently made this push public, they've actually been working on this plan for a while, starting with Facebook's acquisition of Oculus in 2014. For decades, tech companies worked on bringing VR to life, but they ran into issues with getting the price down and with getting head tracking to work properly. That all changed in 2012, when Palmer Luckey created a Kickstarter campaign for his Stay Alive simulator prototype. The Oculus Rift promised to provide the best VR experience with 6 degrees of motion head tracking at a $300 price point. It captured the imagination of gamers and developers everywhere, and it would become one of the most successful Kickstarter campaigns at that point. It even caught the attention of multi-billion-dollar corporations to go on and create their own headsets for consumer use, starting the new VR golden age. However, the hype for VR died as soon as it came. Over a decade after the Oculus Kickstarter, VR still hasn't become this massive paradigm shift that people were hoping for. Although people were excited to try out VR, their hype soon died when they saw the price. PC VR headsets ended up costing hundreds if not thousands of dollars, and you still need a beefy rig to run games properly. Although console VR ended up cheaper, the headset still cost more than the console itself. Even when you could afford the headsets, it was a massive pain in the ass to set up. You need to hook up the wired headsets to your PC and also use up all your USB ports to hook up the sensors. To get a decent experience, you need at least 100 square feet of empty space, or essentially an entire room in your house, dedicated just for VR. You need to place a sensor in each corner of the room, and then spend an arduous amount of time just getting the tracking to work. If you were to ever move the sensors, or if you put them away when you're done with VR like a sane person, you have to start this painful process all over again. Despite being the trailblazer of this new industry, Oculus, now under new management, was facing a similar issue. But Facebook was adamant on making VR a success. They realized the current price was too high, and that it was a pain to use. So they designed a new headset that removed all those restrictions. All the wires, sensors, and external hardware need to go, and everything that you'll ever need will be in the box. The internals and sensors need to be in the headset, and the entire experience needed to be wireless. They released a headset meeting that criteria with the Oculus Quest in 2019. Although some sacrifices need to be made thanks to the weaker hardware, The Quest makes up for it by providing the most convenient way of using VR. Everything you need is right in the box. You can set up a VR playroom anywhere in your house, no external sensors required, and you're ready to go. If you do want a more advanced experience, you could always hook up the headset to a PC via cable or even through Wi-Fi. But for most people, the Quest by itself was good enough for their needs. Best of all, it was only $400, making it the cheapest headset on the market. Within a few years, the Quest and Quest 2 would dominate the VR marketplace. But that still isn't saying much. With only 15 million Quest 2s sold within the last 2 years, Meta still has a long way to go before VR becomes another mainstay in tech. And the reason why it hasn't become bigger is its limited scope to one field: gaming. If the motion era proved anything, it proved that most gamers are reluctant to change and don't want to play anything that doesn't involve a standard controller. Sure, motion technology back then didn't work as well as VR headsets do today, but we're still seeing a ton of gamers reluctant to even try it. It doesn't matter how fun it is to swing at boxes in Beat Saber or to shoot headcrabs in Half-Life Alyx. They don't want to get off their asses and swing their arms to play. Though to be fair, it's not like there's a ton of incredible games in VR right now. Despite the 2 games I mentioned being awesome, these types of games are few and far between within the VR marketplace. Right now, VR is full of rhythm games, shooting galleries, and a bunch of tech demos. And unfortunately, there isn't much interest in making more advanced games than these. AAA game development is already an expensive endeavor, and with a user base that's only slightly larger than the Wii U, it's unlikely that those games will make their money back. Plus, since the Quest is just mobile hardware, the scope of their games would be fairly limited anyway. For the time being, VR gaming seems to be a dead end, and I don't see much expansion into this sector unless Meta is willing to pay for more AAA game development. But Meta has bigger ambitions outside of gaming, so they're more focused on expanding VR's use into other sectors, which in some ways will probably cause people to hate VR even more.
I hate my job!
The Quest Pro is Meta's attempt to bring virtual reality into the workplace. It's the most advanced headset on the market with a higher resolution and eye tracking, and a 2-hour battery life, and a $1,500 price tag. Because it's for the professional market, Meta is pushing numerous productivity features like creating as many monitors as you need for your work, as well as virtual meeting rooms where instead of looking at your ugly mug, your coworkers can look at these unholy abominations instead.
Oh my god! What's wrong with your face?
It sounds neat on paper, but if you think about it, what makes using a VR headset better than using a chat app, or simply buying another monitor? It would be cheaper than to spend $1,500 on something that most people are going to try once and then never use again, especially since you can only get 2 hours of use per charge anyway. Also, for people who are working in the office, wouldn't it be more of a nuisance when you're constantly startled because people keep coming up to you asking questions? And God knows what distractions you have to face if you're working from home. But this device isn't being sold to consumers, it's being sold to companies who are looking to further micromanage their employees. With the advanced eye tracking, they can make sure you're actually looking at your work and not slacking off.
Yes! No, stop!
Plus, with virtual meetings, they can make sure you're actually paying attention and not looking at your phone because everything being said will be in an email anyway. It doesn't matter if you're working from home or in the office, the company will always know what you're doing. And that's the way they like it. Yes, the technology is still in the prototype stage. It might be a pain to use now with the heavy headset and short battery life, but over time they'll make the headsets no larger than a pair of sunglasses, which will incorporate AR technology so you'll be aware of your surroundings and perhaps use streaming to give you better performance. So eventually the employees will accept this new VR reality. By this point, most people will be comfortable with wearing VR headsets for long periods of time. That's exactly what Meta is hoping for. Once you're used to wearing one at work, why not simply keep it on? And then explore a whole new universe from the comfort of your own home. And that is Zuckerberg's master plan. Break people into VR from work, and then eventually people will want to use it for everything, including socializing with other peons in a corporate-controlled universe. They'll be the ones who create the headsets, which will be used to track your every move, and they'll also control this new universe where they'll collect a tax on everything sold. Or so they think. Although Meta is currently the biggest player in the Metaverse, there are other companies working on their own version of it. We still have the current players who haven't given up on VR yet. We have Apple entering the fray soon. And I'm sure the other big tech companies have their own plans. To these companies, the Metaverse is just a side project where they have other ventures to prop them up if it doesn't work out. But Meta is betting their entire livelihood on this concept. If Meta were to find success, the other big tech firms could come out with their own VR headsets and services to compete. And since they don't have as bad of a reputation as Facebook does, many would jump ship without a second thought. If Meta tried to lock in their users into their own infrastructure, they might still have a shot. Oh wait, they tried that, and it didn't work. Their only hope now is to focus heavily on their software efforts, and after spending $15 billion on their killer app, this is the best they could do.
Oh, where's your boredom at? I have no legs. Why?
Introducing Horizon Worlds. It's like VR chat, but worse in every possible way. With VR chat, users can be whoever they want and create the worlds of their dreams without any restrictions, creating both an incredible and terrifying experience all at once. With Horizon Worlds, they sanitized it to the point where it feels like a massive corporation is watching over your every move. Nearly everything costs money within this virtual world, even to just applaud someone at a comedy show. Plus, it doesn't seem like many people are using it, as there isn't a lot of user-generated content being made for it. Since it's the main app of the Quest that Meta is pushing heavily, many Quest owners are trying it out, seeing just how terrible it is, and then never bother with VR again. I've known quite a few people who've done that. If Meta can't even beat out an indie project like VR Chat, then they're screwed when a larger corporation gets serious about it. With the game development experience of Microsoft, Amazon, and, somewhat, Google, they could easily make their own Metaverse app that could be of higher quality of whatever Meta is making. Apple's popularity alone could perhaps push them ahead. Unity could try to buy VR Chat and make it their own Metaverse, and maybe Epic will make Fortnite VR or something. Regardless, I don't see how Meta stands a chance. But you know, as much fun as it is to shit on Facebook, by God do I love doing so, this video isn't just about Zuck the Fuck's efforts in taking over cyberspace. This is about the concept of the Metaverse as a whole, and despite all the hype surrounding it, I just don't see it taking off. Yes, the current technology is still primitive, and there will be better headsets that are lighter and more fashionable, but from a conceptual level, do you really see most people spending their time fully embraced in the virtual world? For it to become this new seismic shift in tech, VR would need to be as ubiquitous as smartphones. I don't think I need to explain why smartphones are huge. You have all of your computing needs in the palm of your hands that's always within arm's reach and can be used in both private and public settings. Within a few taps, you're viewing all your messages, social media posts, and TikTok videos until you get your fill of it. With VR, there are significantly more steps involved. You have to boot the game up, you have to move your arms around to navigate through the menus, and you need to seclude yourself from the rest of the world to get the best experience. People might get used to the VR interface if they have to use it for work, but that could also have some adverse effects. As someone who sits in front of a computer for a living, as much as I love doing it, I've noticed that it's causing me to not want to use my PC much at home. It's understandable since you spent 8+ hours sitting in front of a computer that the last thing you want to do is to spend more time sitting in front of a computer. You want to do other things, which might mean playing on screens that aren't computer monitors. But for most people, that could mean leaving the cyber world for a while and experiencing the real world, and to also meet up with friends in real life. Some of us might not be as lucky to have friends nearby, but despite all the technology we have, there's nothing that beats talking to people in real life. Conversations are more instant and much more natural. People are more honest and are more engaged in conversations. And simply being in the presence of other people just feels more satisfying than to hide behind tech to communicate. At this point, I think we understand how some people act on the internet. Some might show their true colors in a negative sense, whether it's through their narcissism, their trolling, or just being shitty people in general. But some tend to be more reserved when talking to people online, probably because they don't want to deal with all those shitty people I mentioned earlier. In the metaverse, you're not sure who you're talking to, as everyone's hiding behind an avatar. Some might be cool, but from what I experience, it's only a matter of time until some kid screams out a bunch of racial slurs every 5 seconds. Plus, as a means of simulating human-to-human interaction, some people might find it too jarring to talk to random anime characters, or a bunch of amputated mannequins, so I don't think many would find this way of communication appealing. Also, you need to take the other senses into consideration. People actually want to go places to experience the sights, sounds, smells, senses, and even tastes. And you only get to experience 2 of those in VR. People want to explore places to meet people, eat a bunch of different foods, enjoy the great weather, see incredible sights, and you know, touching grass is always a plus. Until they come up with technologies that involve all 5 senses that doesn't kill most people who use it, there's no way the metaverse can replicate those experiences. But like I said, some of you might not be as lucky to have many friends in real life. Maybe you're the type of person who stays in all day not wanting to talk to people. Maybe you've been ostracized by your community and use the internet as a means of escape. Maybe you suffer from severe anxiety or other disabilities that make socializing with people difficult. I can personally relate to all these things, and I can see why the metaverse can be appealing for some. But for the average person who likes spending time with friends and family in the real world, I can't think of a product that's less appealing to them. VR is a technology that's meant to isolate you from the rest of the world, which is not what most people want to do. They want to go on and explore the world, not hide from it. If they isolate themselves for long periods of time, they'd go crazy. If you don't believe me, just look at how people reacted during the pandemic, and then look at all the physical and mental health issues people dealt with because of it. I know I've already burned a ton of bridges by just mentioning this, but you have to think with all the technology we had to stay in touch back then, why were people so desperate to meet each other in real life? Like I said, it's because face-to-face communication is still the best out there. And it's something that I encourage everyone to do. Trust me, I'm the biggest introvert there is. But even I get lonely from time to time and try to come up with excuses to get out of the house. Go out and spend time with your local community, whether it's at a meetup, a bar, a restaurant, grocery store, bookstore, church, synagogue, mosque, temple, charity event, concerts, parks, bake sales, or anywhere else where you can find people. Sure, you'll meet your fair share of assholes, but I guarantee that you'll at least find someone who shares your interests, and then you'll have friends in real life. At least it'll be better than to spend most of your time on social media. We all know how terrible social media is by this point, and how awful it is for your mental health. Not only is it filled with shitty people, but it constantly bombards you with pointless bullshit to get you addicted. You always feel like shit by comparing yourself to other people who are most likely faking it for attention, gets you riled up with fake and negative news, and are getting trolled to the point where you're wondering why the fuck you're still torturing yourself with these apps. People are finally realizing this and are taking action against it. Social media usage is dropping across the board, and some are even abandoning smartphones altogether. People are finally realizing that they don't actually need social media, and are better off going outside and actually talking to people in real life. And I don't see many people going more in depth with their social media by exploring a virtual world with these same issues. Now, it's a stretch to say that social media is going to die entirely, but I see it at least wane in popularity, and I don't see how the metaverse, a place where you're literally living social media, would be appealing. Mixed in with the social isolation, the uncanny valley effect, and the hassle to actually use it, I don't really see it taking off, and it'll most likely remain as a niche. Now, I know some of you will be bummed about this, and to be honest, I kind of am too. Many were hoping the metaverse would be the killer app needed for VR to become the new tech revolution. Without this massive app, VR development will stagnate and become irrelevant. But you know, there are some benefits to being niche. Although VR might not be great for everything, it still has its uses. It provides the best way to play any simulator, whether it's a flight sim or racing game. It can help you get more engaged with exercising. And it can even provide gaming experiences more engaging than any TV could provide. It can even be a good tool to socialize with friends when you're not close to each other. And since it's a niche, it won't be corporatized to hell. If humanity really has become a bunch of techno junkies, they'd all be jacking themselves into the metaverse and ruining it with their stupidity. Then the massive corporations will come in and try to sanitize and monetize everything and make the metaverse a hellhole just like all science fiction says it will be. However, if it remains niche, we never need to worry about that. Horizon Worlds will eventually fail, and we'll be left with a bunch of different games made by dedicated people who want to provide the best experiences for all. You can meet with like-minded people in VR chat or other chat apps, and you can explore the metaverse for all of its craziness and for all of its glory. And I can't wait to see where that leads. Well, I just need to deal with my social anxiety and to find a server that doesn't dissolve into idiocy.